Across the cosmic ocean for more than a century, Earth has been broadcasting its presence. From the first weak crackles of Morse code to the global web of data beaming from satellites, our planet hums with electromagnetic chatter. Yet despite our attempts to listen, the stars have remained quiet. No signal, no pattern, no voice has replied. This persistent silence, the central mystery of the Fermi paradox, forces a haunting question. What if we're listening in the wrong way? The tools of our search are built on the assumption that other intelligent species would think like us, use the same physics, build the same radios, speak across the stars in waves and pulses. But what if that assumption is our first mistake? What if advanced civilizations moved beyond electromagnetic communication long ago? What if, while we send ripples through the void, they use something far stranger, something instantaneous, untraceable, and fundamentally alien to our current understanding? Enter quantum communication, a concept born not in science fiction, but in the hard math of quantum mechanics. In labs on Earth, scientists have already entangled particles across kilometers, sending quantum states between them in a kind of ghostly dance. Entanglement is a bizarre phenomenon. Two particles, once linked, can remain connected across vast distances. Measure one, and the other responds immediately, as if distance does not exist. It's a glimpse of something deeper, something that defies classical logic. For us, quantum entanglement still exists within the fragile confines of controlled experiments. Noise, decoherence, and distance limit what we can do. But for a civilization thousands or millions of years more advanced, these barriers may have already fallen. Where we struggle with interference and weak signals, they may use entangled particles as communication nodes, building vast, faster-than-light communication networks that span solar systems. If such a network exists, it would be silent to us. No waves, no detectable emissions, no traces to follow. Like ghosts whispering behind the veil of space-time. In this reality, Earth might be sitting in a galaxy bustling with intelligent activity, yet completely unaware. Our receivers scan for radio pulses, parse frequencies, and analyze cosmic noise, unaware that the true conversations are happening in a completely different channel. Not over distance, but through entanglement. Not in electromagnetic waves, but in non-local quantum states. It would explain the silence. It would rewrite our assumptions about interstellar communication. And it would reframe the search for alien life, not as a matter of reaching out, but catching up. To understand why quantum communication could be the standard for alien civilizations, consider the limitations of light-speed messaging. Even at 300,000 kilometers per second, a message to a star 100 light-years away takes a century to arrive. Any conversation would be staggered across generations. In contrast, quantum entanglement hints at instantaneous connection, something that doesn't obey the same rules of speed and time. Though not truly transmitting information faster than light in the strictest quantum sense, an advanced species may have developed protocols to overcome the hurdles we still struggle with. Imagine a civilization that seeded its corner of the galaxy with entangled particles centuries ago. Each colony, each station, each ship contains receivers tuned not to radio frequencies, but to quantum states. They don't broadcast, they link, they synchronize, and perhaps they exchange information on layers of physics we haven't yet discovered. Dimensions beyond space-time, channels folded between quantum fields. From their perspective, our planet's emissions might seem crude. Like smoke signals rising from a jungle, they mark our presence, but reveal our limitations. We are visible, but not yet compatible. From their perspective, contacting us might be as difficult as explaining calculus to a child still learning to count. Worse, their very form of communication may be constrained to those who've passed a certain technological threshold, like an encryption key we haven't even imagined, let alone found. The data might be all around us, saturating the quantum vacuum, yet locked in a language shaped by physics we don't yet grasp. Like books lining the walls of a library where we've never learned to read. And perhaps, in their patience, they wait, or watch, or simply observe our noisy world from afar, seeing a species reaching for the stars using outdated tools. A civilization in its infancy, unaware that the universe is already humming with conversation. In this quiet, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence becomes more than a technological quest. It becomes a philosophical one. What if intelligence isn't just measured by the ability to send signals, but by knowing how to listen? What if right now the cosmos is speaking in a tongue shaped by quantum fields and non-local entanglements, and we, busy with radio and radar, are deaf to its music? Beyond the haze of Earth's atmosphere, across the vacuum where electromagnetic waves fade and scatter, a new kind of network might be unfolding, one that doesn't beam or broadcast, but instead connects across space using the deep and silent mechanics of quantum entanglement. If alien civilizations have embraced quantum communication, their infrastructure wouldn't resemble our towers, satellites, or arrays. It would be something more ephemeral, invisible, possibly impossible for our current technology to even detect. A ghost network embedded in the fabric of reality itself. To imagine it, we must think not in terms of lines and nodes, but of layers. A civilization with mastery over quantum mechanics could lace the galaxy with entangled particles, forming a non-local web that reaches across stars without relying on conventional transmission. This isn't the internet as we know it. It's something more elegant, more native to the quantum realm, a living network, not built atop physics, but woven directly into it. These beings may have developed methods to produce and distribute entangled pairs on a massive scale. Millions, perhaps billions of quantum links maintained through highly stabilized fields or structures far beyond our material science. They may use quantum repeaters, not unlike the experimental models we're building here on Earth, but evolved to a galactic level. Each relay point, perhaps orbiting stars or hidden inside gravitational wells, could keep entangled pairs stable for centuries, correcting errors and synchronizing information without ever transmitting anything in the conventional sense. Unlike our systems, which depend on energy-intensive broadcasts, such a quantum communication web might require little energy to sustain once established. Its elegance lies in how little needs to move. Information is encoded not in signals sent through space, but in the instantaneous correlation of states. There's no beam to detect, no frequency to intercept, no message to jam. If such a system exists, it would be utterly silent and utterly secure. This kind of architecture would render our methods both obsolete and irrelevant. We are still building pyramids of steel and silicon while they sculpt with the subtle tools of reality itself. Our radio transmissions, however advanced, would seem like grunts and gestures to a species fluent in the language of quantum fields. If we tried to locate their infrastructure, we might find nothing. Their stations could be the size of atoms, floating silently in orbit, or distributed across crystalline lattices on moons or asteroids. They could be embedded in the gravitational lensing of black holes, utilizing the curvature of space-time as part of the entanglement process itself. Their servers might exist within quantum condensates cooled to near absolute zero, allowing entanglement to persist unbroken across years, even millennia. And what of their messages? Our minds reach for patterns, math, music, pulses, or images, but a quantum message might not look like any of these. It could be purely abstract, existing not as sound or sight, but as transformation, a change in state that only makes sense if one understands the entire structure behind it. It might be incomprehensible to us, not because it's encrypted, but because it doesn't map onto any mode of communication we recognize. To these advanced beings, understanding might be instant. The entire message could arrive in one quantum gesture, not a sequence of words or bits, but a total concept, encoded in the complex correlations between entangled particles. No transmission delay, no misinterpretation, no ambiguity, just pure simultaneous knowing. And yet, even if their communication is near magical in our eyes, there's no reason to assume it lacks purpose. Trade, diplomacy, science, art, all may travel through these channels. Entire worlds might be linked into this lattice of entangled understanding, sharing culture and memory across unimaginable distances. Imagine two planets orbiting different stars, yet connected as if side by side. A thought conceived on one, instantly mirrored on the other. A civilization that no longer sees space as an obstacle, but as a shallow pool of separateness easily crossed. If such beings exist, And if this is their way of speaking, then our failure to detect them isn't a sign of emptiness, but of blindness. We're scanning for lights in a realm of shadows, listening for thunder in a conversation that leaves no sound. But here's the paradox. Even if we can't detect their messages directly, their infrastructure might still leave footprints. Subtle disturbances in quantum fields, statistical anomalies in background radiation, patterns in cosmic particles that don't align with randomness. Perhaps there are ripples we've already observed, dismissed as noise, unexplained interference, or instrumentation errors, that are in fact artifacts of a vast entangled web brushing against our primitive tools. We could be surrounded by their whispers and not even know it. More chilling is the possibility that they can detect us with perfect clarity. Our radio waves spill into space like ink in water, unconcealed and unencrypted. Every transmission, every radar ping, every cell tower broadcast expands into space at the speed of light. To us, it's just noise. But to a civilization tuned to finer resolutions, our signals may be an open book, our languages, media, and even defense systems laid bare. We are broadcasting everything about ourselves into the galaxy without even knowing who might be listening. In a cosmos where true communication is done silently and securely, our behavior might be viewed as reckless, primitive, loud. Imagine a quiet forest, and then one creature suddenly starts shouting. The others wouldn't need to respond. They would simply know where it was and how unsophisticated its methods were. It raises another question. Would such a civilization try to initiate contact with us? Or would they wait until we caught up, until we too learned to speak in silence? Perhaps quantum communication is not just a method, it's a test, a filter. Only those who understand the deeper rules of nature can join the conversation. And until then, we remain outside the room, pressing our ears to the door, wondering if anyone's inside. If the galaxy is already filled with intelligent life, linked across stars by quantum entanglement, silently exchanging ideas and patterns too deep for us to perceive, then the search for extraterrestrial intelligence becomes something much more profound than just scanning radio frequencies. It becomes a search for understanding, for a kind of maturity, not just technological, but cognitive, philosophical. A willingness to embrace a universe that may operate on laws stranger than we expected. For nearly a century, humanity's attempts at interstellar contact have been defined by a kind of hopeful noise. The beeping of radar, the chatter of satellites, the roar of analog TV signals, and the broadband flood of the internet, all leaking into space at the speed of light. SETI listens patiently, ear to the heavens, waiting for a matching pulse. But if alien civilizations communicate through entangled particles, not traveling messages, but instant correlations, then we've been listening on the wrong channel all along. SETI, as it's traditionally imagined, may be a search through silence, not because no one is out there, but because the language being used is too quiet, too subtle, too far beyond our current reach to be recognized. It would be like standing outside a sealed concert hall, trying to determine the nature of the music being played by watching the movements of the building. No matter how advanced our instruments become, without the key, without an understanding of the medium, we remain deaf. And yet, there's something more hopeful within this realization. If quantum communication is the hallmark of advanced intelligence, then discovering it becomes not a matter of luck, but of evolution. As our species continues to experiment with quantum networks, as we build quantum computers and entangle particles across greater distances, we begin to walk the path others may have taken long before us. Every lab on Earth working on quantum cryptography or entangled messaging could be laying the first stones in a road that leads toward cosmic fluency. Toward comprehension of the galactic whisper net we've long mistaken for silence. Perhaps that's the real threshold of contact, not sending a message, but understanding the method. Not broadcasting louder, but learning to hear in new ways. Aliens using quantum communication might not be ignoring us. They may simply be waiting for us to stop shouting and start listening with the right tools. This shifts the entire concept of the Great Filter. If civilizations are quiet, not because they destroy themselves, but because they transition to communication methods undetectable to immature species, Then it reframes the silence not as a void, but as a veil. One that must be pierced not with force, but with insight. Radio is a phase, a loud, chaotic, hopeful phase, and beyond it lies something quieter, cleaner, more precise, more elegant. There is danger in assuming that what we do now is permanent, in assuming that alien civilizations will match our thinking, our tools, our timelines. It's possible that those who've mastered quantum communication no longer build cities, no longer speak, no longer even use technology in ways we recognize. Their signals might not come as words, but as synchronizations, subtle alignments of matter, energy, or even thought. It's possible that some of what we see in the cosmos, strange alignments, unexplained emissions, or fluctuations in the quantum vacuum, aren't random at all, but encoded actions from an intelligence we have no vocabulary for. A message doesn't need to be heard to exist. It only needs to be understood by someone capable of reading it. And so, the real story might be this. The universe isn't quiet. We are. The civilizations that have lasted are those that went silent, not from extinction, but from evolution. They stopped lighting fires in the darkness and started mapping the darkness itself. They discovered that communication doesn't always require movement, or signal, or even energy. It just requires connection. And once that connection is made, distance is no longer an obstacle. Time no longer a barrier. Only intent remains. As we continue to study entanglement, teleportation, and the strange fabric of quantum reality, we inch closer to that level of awareness. We build quantum networks on Earth not just to secure our data, but perhaps unknowingly, to learn the first syllables of a galactic language spoken in silence. One day we may discover that our laboratories have become our antennas, that our quantum experiments are being observed or even gently nudged by minds more advanced than we can imagine, not to control us, but to prepare us. The great conversation may already be happening, not across years and light years, but across the folds of reality itself, between minds, machines, and worlds synchronized in ways we've yet to master. And when we finally join that conversation, it won't come with a roar or a broadcast. It will come like a shift in the wind, a pattern falling into place, a realization so deep and so immediate that it will feel as though we've always known. In that moment, Earth will no longer be loud. It will be heard.